Hi! Welcome to this course and to this first video of the Angular training that you were able to download from my website, TakeOS. This course then will focus on step 00. It's not technical yet. I'm just going to briefly cover a few points about the format, a bit of guidance on how the course would be structured. I strongly recommend that you first watch the video on YouTube that explains a bit about how to use the course, because it uses Git in particular. So you need to be somewhat comfortable with it. It's not necessarily very complicated to use. You just need to know 2 or 3 commands, that's all. Once you've downloaded the training project, as shown in the YouTube video on my channel, you'll end up with a project that looks a bit like this. As I mentioned earlier in the video, you would normally arrive at the very last and final step of the process. You need to move to step 00. I recommend you do this because the source project, the code that will be reflected at each step matches when you're on that specific tag. So that's how we move between steps. So I'll show you how to do it the first time. If you're not using IntelliJ and instead have VS Code or something else, and you're entering your commands in the terminal, here's how it works. You do a git checkout 00, so 00 for the step, and then we'll move up from there, step by step. If I do a git checkout 00, I get this message. But if you ever have the opportunity to get IntelliJ, like I show in the video, it's still pretty easy. There. You see, I can put 01, I go over it. I put 00, I go over it. I no longer need to enter command lines. I prefer this flow. Anyway, we arrive at this 00 step. Your entry point each time for every step is this formation folder or courses in the English version of the course. You need to refer to these files each time. The 00 step is a little bit different from all the others, as we'll see, because I'm laying a bit of the groundwork here. So I explain a bit what it is, and especially what's going to be super important, the method. It's a method that I mostly developed myself, where each step will have a starting file that will suggest something to accomplish in the current step related to a very specific topic, an INT file that might give you, well, some advice, but also some specific command lines, either to help you move faster, especially, for example, if it's about generating components or generating services. Generally, I put the ng generate command, so with the entire command line that's needed in that file. And from time to time, when the steps are a bit more complicated, I add some extra information inside. And finally, the final step, which will be, this file will be one where I provide a lot of information, but also I'll be explaining things orally throughout this video series as well. But there you go, you can refer to it. The history, which is just a concatenation of all the final steps from the previous stages. This makes it possible to have sort of a big format in a single file of all the final steps. For example, you can put this file into ChatGPT or anything else, and then use it to easily get feedback or a bit of analysis on everything you've done. Finally, there's a resources folder that will be from time to time filled with quite a few files, architecture diagrams, backend diagrams, depending on the external resources I include in each step. Mandatory thing, in the end, we have a few prerequisites that seem obvious. Maybe for true beginners, it might be a lot less obvious. We need Node.js installed on your computer. If you already know how to do that, you can skip ahead, but just so you know, to check, you run node v, and you should get a response like this. If you don't have it, there's a link here. I'll open it quickly so you can see. You just need to go download Node.js from there. Obviously, you also need Angular. Same thing, there's a link, you can just click on it. And just below, right here, there you go. Here, you have the install. You can install the CLI, command line interface, which is a tool provided by Angular to help us generate Angular applications and a whole bunch of Angular tools. And finally, Git, because everything is based on that. If you don't have it, same thing, you need to go download it from here. Once you have all these dependencies installed, you have the necessary commands to check if everything is properly installed, and then you can get started.